Senator will be the guy to bring it up. We're seeing former President Trump in court today, and we haven't seen the exact charges yet, so big caveat there. But he said he thinks this episode might help his 2024 campaign. I guess I want to know, do you think that's true? Do you plan on weighing in on the nominating race sometime in the future?
Well, first let me say that the indictment of a former president is unprecedented in our history. And at every stage of the criminal proceedings, the stakes grow higher. At this point, my request to the people of our country, whether they are supporters or opponents of President Trump, is to react peacefully when the indictment is unsealed later today. In answer to your first question, I have already made clear that President Trump is not my choice for the Republican nomination. I think we have many outstanding candidates: Nikki Haley, Asa Hutchinson, Tim Scott, all of whom I know well, Chris Christie. There are a lot of choices out there. And my hope is that my party will choose one of those excellent choices.
Senator, can I ask you quickly about the situation in Russia? As you know, there have kind of been two developments, one kind of locally, the Bowdoin College graduate, Evan Gershkovich, being held in Russia right now, and then also Finland joining NATO. I guess the first part of that question is about Finland. Do you feel that sends a message to Vladimir Putin?
The ascension of Finland to NATO is a major development and shows that Putin really miscalculated what the impact would be on NATO when he did his unprovoked invasion, his brutal invasion of Ukraine. When I visited Ukraine, we went on to Sweden and Finland, whose parliaments were voting at that very time on whether or not to join NATO. And I'll never forget being at the Finnish president's house, and he took us out back, and he explained that just 200 miles in that direction was St. Petersburg, and to the other side was Estonia. So Finland is strategically located and will give Russia a NATO ally along 835 miles of its border. So this is extremely significant. I hope that Turkey, and I've talked to the Turkish ambassador about this, will now unblock its objection to Sweden joining. Sweden has abandoned 200 years of neutrality to join NATO, and that is directly in response to the February 24th invasion last year of Ukraine by Russia.
And just to follow up on that journalist from the Wall Street Journal,
Yes.
a Bowdoin College graduate, do you have any other information on what's happening with his detention and possible release?
First, let me say that it's outrageous, and it is part of what we're seeing Putin do over and over again. He is trying to suppress the free press. He does not want anybody reporting the truth about what's going on, whether it's in Ukraine or in Russia itself. And I am certain that this journalist, this American journalist for the Wall Street Journal, has been caught up in that campaign for repression. I also suspect that Putin has taken him captive in the hope of doing another trade. And that also can be very dangerous, because what Putin's always asking for is for us to release someone who's very dangerous, who has targeted Americans, in return for an American who's innocent of any wrongdoing. And of course, since he did go to Bowdoin College, this really hits close to home for us.
One more question.
I'm glad we covered asylum seekers in NATO, but I'm going to return to Trump for just one more question. I know it's hard to comment on a case when none of us have seen the indictment. It might be about the personal matter has been reported, it might be more broadly about his personal business. We'll find out in a couple hours. But a lot of people in your party have prejudged the case. They're criticizing it as partisan, illegitimate, words like that to put on it. What's your view about maybe people having a more generous view of due process, or whether you think some of the other known investigations around January 6th, for example, are possibly more important and we should be looking for how those cases develop?
Until we see the specifics of the indictment, it would be premature for me to issue an opinion on it. People on both sides have been quick to judge the indictment before it has been unsealed. This is not the case that I would have guessed would be brought against President Trump. And certainly the fact that it's unprecedented in American history to indict either a sitting or a former president gives me pause. But I want to see what the specifics are this afternoon.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you still need more Peter in from the senator, or do you want to move on to other people? What do you think?
We can move on to Elliot.
Sure, that sounds good.
I don't want to drop any of your sensitive equipment.
Thank you so much.
You'd be surprised where it's ended up.
Yeah, good quality. Thank you. I try to have pockets on when I'm not doing it, or something